All right, hopefully that worked with our fancy new remote here. Welcome to, I should grab that back though so I can stop it and they don't have to have me get up.
Or we're just talking to a non-recording camera right now.
One of the two. Anyway, welcome to episode 5 of Coaches on the Couch. Brent and Sydney back here. Sorry we're a couple days late with this. It's finals week. And so we found ways to fill our time in between the practices by doing not much of anything. Anyway, so as we said in the last video, want to use this one as a little bit more of a full fall semester recap. I understand for our competitions, we've already done those episodes, but to just talk more generally about the fall semester. So we'll start with a quick recap and then we'll go from there. The fall semester for us kicked off Monday, September 11th. No, actually, what was it? Wednesday, whatever, somewhere around there. When we started with some team building stuff in our team retreat, which we normally don't do. I don't know about you, Sydney. I thought that went really well. It was definitely different, right? Moving that up about 2 weeks. And again, we stayed here on campus. But we had some team discussions that we have never had before that I think were really good to have. And a little bit coming out of some interpersonal conflict from last year. You know, I don't think we should hide from that. We've been telling our recruits about it, right? And it's just a part of what happened last year. So kind of talking about that, setting our core values, like what do they want? What do we want them to mean to us, right? I thought that was a really good activity. And we got some good feedback, right?
Yeah.
On that, so.
I think it was nice that it was earlier because it set the tone for the rest of like what we expect. And
yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah. And it was coaching led this year as opposed to the values talk is kind of led by the captains the last kind of 5-6 years. And this year we stepped back into it. Part of that I think was me recognizing like, hey, everybody's far enough away out of this that they actually don't remember where these came from. That's always just been a part of our program. And so coming back with that. And then just some other talks early in the season. We brought in Justin Leibowitz, who did kind of a healthy conflict talk for us, which last year or not, I think is probably something we should just be doing on the regular. I think that was a really good conversation to have about how do you handle healthy conflict, right? Like the absence of conflict is most likely unobtainable in any setting, especially a team setting made up of 38 plus people. And I think that how you can navigate that in a team setting, which is a hopefully relatively safe space and environment for healthy conflict, to then be able to refine those skills and take it out into quote unquote the real world. Hopefully that's helpful for them. So we'll see. And then started our very long training block as normal, right?
Yes.
And so for those of you who are unaware, all the rest of September and almost all of October are our peer training. We start with a lot of technique work, underwater video and review so that they can see what they're doing underwater. And then our first official, but like unofficial because it was an exhibition meet. Well, I guess I'm skipping inter-squad meet, which was really fun. And actually, even before that, alumni. It was a smaller alumni meet this year. I think we had 10.
Yeah.
10 alumni or so. Kind of suspected it might have been a little bit of a smaller meet because back in late August, there was a wedding between 2 of our 2020 grads. Congratulations, Derek and Jensen. Where about 25 of their teammates were there, and so I was at that with luckily with Gloria, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of you here. And they were like, yeah, we're not sure if we're coming to alumni because we're here. And I was like, fair enough. And then actually on the actual date of alumni was another alum's wedding, Rachel Kaiser Taylor. Congratulations to you and your husband. That I know some of her class, a class of 2018, went to, and so hopefully next year get it a bigger thing. I guess it draws into a conversation like, should we have the alumni meet every 2 years? Should we have it every year, right? I think this is a conversation Leslie, who was the former head coach and our former associate AD, her and I would have every now and then about like, do you make it every other year to kind of not break up the like every year monotony, because I don't think it's that, but to maybe bring more importance to it or allow people travel only thinking every other year versus every year. And or if you do it every other year, then do you tie it to classes or 4-year cycles or something like that? And so I think that's just something as we move forward into the spring and we start thinking about next year, 25, 26 season, something to think about, like, do we start honoring classes on a more regular basis? And if so, does that mean we split up, or does that mean we just really target that group to say, hey, try to come back. So yeah, an interesting conversation to have in the spring. Quick side tangent here. Something that happened preseason, back in the very beginning of August, we had another small alumni gathering around the memorial service for one of our former coaches, Skip Kennitzer. A lot of alums from his teams, especially in the kind of the mid '90s, came back for an event that Leslie and I were a part of, and so that was really nice to be able to kind of honor Skip one last time. Skip passed away tragically in the summer of 23, and we waited a year, or I shouldn't say we, Jan, his wife, waited a year so that we could really spread the message to all the alums, say like, hey, we'd love to see you back for his service. So that was a nice thing that, again, not necessarily part of our fall season, but something that Leslie and I were really involved in before the beginning of the year. And now, if you've seen our caps, the white caps that we wear, it has a little SK patch on it in honor of Skip. And so, with Jan's blessing, we were able to do that. And so if you're ever wondering what that little SK means, it's for Skip Kennitzer. Fast forward, again, going back to Inter-Squad with parent family weekend. That was great. So many parents. I didn't get to spend as much time as I wanted to maybe with the parents. I was in my cousin's wedding that same weekend. So after that meet, I ran off to Mount Hood essentially to go be with them. But yeah, Inter-Squad was great. It was a fun time. It's always a good meet. If we take the non-swimming part out, right? Because I forget who it was. Cardinal, I think, just really crushed gold at that. It is what it is. But the swim was decided by a point or something like that, like 3 points, something like that. And so that was crazy that the swim came down to that. I think that's the second or third time we've done that, where it's been not a blowout. I don't know how Whittier did it. I know Cal Poly, we didn't really do a good job, and it's been years since I've thought about that. But inter-squads can get into a point where it's like one squad is blowing out the other, whether you intended that or not from a coaching standpoint. And I would say we do our best. I run probably 2 or 3 lineups by Sydney and say, what do you think? Do you think this is good enough? And you're always like, it's going to be what it's going to be, which kills me. But at the same time,
we're never going to have a perfectly even team.
No.
Especially with our size disparity between our men's and women's
right.
team.
And I think that's hard too, right? We tried to have some mixed relays in there, which is great. But it is a little bit different feel when the men are kind of doing a 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, and the women almost have a full heat. But I think that just points to us. We really need to make sure we're recruiting men and retaining the women on the team that we have, and building the men's program up to be just as big as the women's program. So goals for this year, and hopefully not too much further into the future. I think we did a lot better job. Again, quick side tangent in the recruiting. I think we did a good job with connecting with more men's team recruits. Hopefully that pays off in the long term. I know the FAFSA just recently opened and decisions come out on Friday. And so, we'll start to have different conversations, but I feel pretty good about where we're at with the men's team. But as we move into the spring, that'll definitely be another point of emphasis, not just for us, but also for the team and connecting them with each other. So, After Inter-Squad, a couple weeks went by, I think about 2 or 3, and then our first, like I said, official but really unofficial because an exhibition meet was SWAC. Always fun to see Sandra and her group. I think SWAC was a really good starting point for us. Again, really tough meet on the men's side. They're the runners-up at their nationals the last 3-4 years running. Sandra has built an incredible program there. But our women have gone on and won against SWAC a handful of times, even though SWAC is, again, a top 10 finisher for junior college nationals. And so it's a really good starting point for us, regardless of how we do team-wise, but individually just to see where they're at. I think that's what I like about it. Sandra, pretty low pressure too, is right. She's just happy to be competing against anybody. I think we're the sole team that has competed against SWAC every year since she's started that program, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, again, it was a good starting point for us. Some good swims coming out of it. I'll be honest, I can't remember any off the top of my head that were super standout, just because we let them pick 2 of the 4 events they swam. We picked the other 2. So definitely some off events from some people who were like, yeah, you're not going to do that in duels or at Bruin or conference. But yeah, again, a fun meet. And then we got into the competition phase as we entered November, again, kicking off with George Fox and PLU, followed by Whitworth Whitman, and then we ended with Bruin. If you want a little bit more in-depth recap of that, George Fox and PLU is covered in episode 1 of Coaches on the Couch. The Wits were captured in episode 2, and then the very long, my 25-minute video about Bruin is episode 3 if you want to check those out. So I think that's good. And now that takes us to now where we're at. So last week, as is I guess our tradition on this, like what do we do? Last week was kind of a weird week for us. Like what do you do with this like half week? They were in school normal Monday to Wednesday. Study days Tuesday or Wednesday, Thursday. Jesus, no, Thursday, Friday. Thank you. It's finals week.
English is hard.
And then they started finals on Saturday, and so we ran, I would say like a 50-50 split, where it's like 50% of the practice was kind of a normal, trying to hit the normal energy systems, getting after it, and the other 50% was skills based. So stroke counts, kick counts, technique work, changing hand positions and all those kind of things about how does that affect your swimming, right? And then we did some fun stuff Thursday. We did rock, paper, scissors relay, which was controversial for them. And so much of the fact of like what scored a point and what didn't. Honestly, I just wanted them to swim fast and have fun, and I think they did. Friday, we did our kind of last circuit, yeah. Or did we do dice? We did dice on Saturday.
We did
Friday.
dice. It was
right, dice. So like wetland stuff. And Saturday was our annual holiday practice. Thanks again to alumni Claire Longi for writing the story for that. That's been 5 years now. She's been writing our little holiday story that then we do kind of a choose your own adventure. Got that idea from Steve over at Whitworth. Probably going to have to change it around a little bit next year. They're queuing in to like, I either read things differently or it's just written like, oh, that's obviously the best option and that's a terrible option. Although I think like you saw, right, there was that, they're starting to stage not mutinies against us, but against each other of like, no, let's do the hard thing and just find out. Some people love that and some are like, they did that on purpose. So, I don't know. I want that practice to be fun. I don't necessarily need them to be working hard. I do want them to work hard. I don't want them only to pick easy stuff. But I think, we probably need to find a way to switch it up a little bit next year.
I'm still hurt. Nobody was horrified that I died in the story.
Well, I mean, you didn't die, but we thought you died.
That's true.
Yeah.
I came back because it's like a movie that we won't say.
Because holiday magic. But, yeah, we all thought you died. Everyone was more shocked it was Blitz. At least people could hear me. I had, my voice was really shot at that point. I've been kind of battling a cold thanks to the little ones. And so that was, no, I'm fine. You would have been sick by now.
Yeah.
And so, so it was hard for me to read everything out, but it is what it is. So, and that takes us to this week. And this week, again, pretty low key, focusing more on skills and technique work and a lot of underwater filming. We'll finish up today, but we'll wrap everybody twice through individually underwater with whatever strokes they want. Tomorrow's our last day, and then we're off until January 6th. And we'll be back here for January 6th, and that'll kick off our spring semester. So, Sydney, I guess in the latter part of the video here, what are your takeaways from the fall?
I think the biggest one is just our attitudes towards swim meets. I feel like, especially when we get into like Bruin was really the highlight, I would think, because they can get so fatigued in it and they just kept bringing the energy even on day 2 finals. And that's something that I know we've been working on as just a program overall, and to actually see it happen was pretty awesome. I'm just excited. I think we're really set up well, especially on our women's team, to kind of come in and be a little bit louder than I think we've been in the past. So I'm just excited overall.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, again, there's a 25-minute video. You can hear me talk about Bruin, so I won't say. But I think it's hard to say Bruin, to pick anything other than Bruin as the highlight as far as performance goes. I think from culture-wise, and hopefully this isn't speaking from a position of being naive, but I just feel like our team is better. Like the steps that we took at the beginning of the year, and I think a lot of work they've done on themselves, right? Like I'm not saying like, oh, Sydney and I are great. We did a couple conversations and it's all better now. I think it's been the team took a lot of what was presented to them and they have worked on it as well. Yeah. And so, again, the returners, they went through it last year. I don't think anybody wanted a repeat of that. So I think what it seems like is people have been working to be better. And so I think from that standpoint, that cohesion, the high-fiving in the middle of practices and like things we haven't seen maybe if ever, that's I think my highlight. And like Sydney, I'm very excited. I never, again, want to go into conference and say, like, we have to get this place or else. All I will say is I think our women are potentially going to have a very, very good meet if it all comes together. That's still 8+ weeks away, which is a really long time when you think about it, and they're going home for 3 of those weeks. But, if everything goes well, and we still have to see how Linfield does at the UNLV invite. But I think as a team, our women can definitely start placing themselves higher and higher in more final swims and presenting. And the men have that opportunity too. Again, like we've talked about kind of in all these videos and all season long with the men, they're just unfortunately going to be limited by their depth. I think we're still going to have individual standouts. I think Cole, Kyle Lapa, Nick, Ethan, Kevin, right? Those are when I think of people who are going to, Paul, when I think of people who are going to have kind of conference level impact, I think they all will. 10 guys, 10 men can only take you but so far, right? And so I think that's really the difference we're going to have to talk about with the men is like your confidence in yourself will help fuel your small team success, but also how you do will affect how the women's team does, right? Yeah. And the women's team, like your collective success, your individual success is building into the collective. Your success will also fuel the men's team, right? That's something we talk about. Like, yes, we're 2 separate programs, and you're scored 2 separate ways, but like we really are, or you're 2 separate teams, I should say. But we really do treat this as one program, right? And it's like your success is each other's success, and that's not to take away from anybody's individual success by any means, but it's to say, would you have gotten there on your own? Maybe, maybe not, right? And I like to think that we are able to push higher individually because of those who are supporting us, AKA their teammates. Yeah. So, yeah, excited. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to say you're not excited for spring, right? For conference season. So that's where we're at. So we'll come back in January. We'll be hit with some meets kind of right out the gate. And school, of course, starting a week after we get back. But yeah, it'll be good. It'll be quick. So what are we going to do? So Sydney and I are going to take some downtime during this break. So this will be the last Coaches on Couch until the new year, until 2025.
I was going to say something real cheesy.
What?
See you next year.
Wow. No.
Thanks.
Okay, we haven't done the sign off yet. Sydney, hold that thought and we'll come back to you. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching this meandering fall 2024 recap. Hopefully it gives you some insight into what's been going on with our program. But yeah, we'll be back in a couple weeks. I don't know if we're going to run one on like kind of that week of Jan 6th. We might just to say like, hey, how you doing? Like, what are we looking forward to? Or we might wait until January 13th when we've actually had a full week back and a meet under our belt. So yeah, stay tuned. Anyway, Sydney, hit him with it now.
See you next year.
Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.